Hey everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody. Glad you guys are back for another video. Final recap of week 2. I do apologize for why it's taking so long. I'm lazy. I don't really have an excuse. This stuff should have been out on like Tuesday, but I had to watch Nebraska lose in basketball, so yeah, what can you do? Anyway, we need to recap the final game of week 2. We've got Northern Arizona and San Diego. This one was a nice back and forth game, and from what I predicted in the preview, I thought it would be kind of San Diego dictating the game a little bit with Northern Arizona coming back. No, sir. Northern Arizona played really well in this game. We'll talk about it more in depth in a second. We got to talk that. A deep dive into some stats, talk our bet. We'll go over the standings from week 2. Kind of look forward to week 3 when we wrap everything up, and that's pretty much the gist of it. So, let's dive in. Okay, so starting out with the notes, and then we deep dive into the stats, but we start the game off with Northern Arizona getting the ball first. They move across midfield, and then a pass is tipped. There is Elijah Reed. He has the interception. San Diego takes over. On that next possession, wide open, Dallas Daniels is behind coverage. He can't make the catch. He bobbles it. You see on the replay, whenever you get the chance to go back and look at it, the ball does hit the turf. Otherwise, wide open walk-in touchdown, man. It can't get it much easier than that, but yeah, makes fools of us all. Nate Davis fumbles, and Malik Ritchie recovers for Northern Arizona inside the 5. We have a first and goal for the Wranglers. Pitch out to the right side for Nolan Susel. He goes down to the 1, and Ramon Atkins in the next play carries it in for the score. Wranglers go up first. Not for long, though. Edward Vander, this is about midfield. You've probably seen the highlights. If you don't, highly encourage it. Edward Vander, spin-o-rama at midfield. He takes off the rest of the way. It's a touchdown. Strike Force. We're right back in it. For Northern Arizona, it's Kobe Smith, just a huge drive for him. He has a catch over the wall at midfield, and then a catch drop in the bucket, like a great pass for Ramon Atkins from midfield. He gets hit against the Dashers. I don't think he comes back into the game. If he does, it's very late. They were kind of mentioning that throughout the broadcast, but he hurt his head, probably a concussion kind of thing, so you hope he's all right. He did get up and walk under his own power. But yeah, a great touchdown regardless. You don't like it being marred by injury, but regardless, that's what happened. So, moving on here, Davis finds his targets for San Diego for some big chunks of yardage, and then we have a Nate Davis running alert. Bow, bow, bow. He scrambles to the 4-yard line. Pitch out left side, and Edward Vander dives across the goal line, and he goes in. It's a touchdown for the Strike Force. Next drive for Northern Arizona, Ramon Atkins to Marlon Cook for a huge game as the first quarter ends 14-13, San Diego leading by 1. There was a missed extra point from Northern Arizona. Northern Arizona drive stalls out. Ramon Atkins bobbles a snap and scrambles short of the first down. San Diego takes over. Edward Vander. 3 rushing touchdowns in the first half. San Diego has always been a running team. I've always said that. San Diego, they run first. They don't throw it. They've always been a running team. Aided by a taunting penalty on San Diego, Northern Arizona has good field position on their next drive. On a 4th down, Ramon Atkins finds Marlon Cook down to the 1. Atkins carries it in for the score, so he's got another touchdown to his belt. Nate Davis gets sacked by Traveris Farrell, who starts at linebacker, but illegal defense will negate it. Strike Force get deep into the Northern Arizona territory. Ernesto Lacayo misses a field goal on 4th down. We hit the 1-minute warning. Atkins fires to the end zone. Ball pops up. It's picked by Elijah Reed again. So second interception for Elijah Reed. Lots of penalties on both sides so far, kind of killing the momentum, and you'll see it in the stats in a minute, but quite a few penalties throughout this game. Ball slips out of Davis's hands again, but he falls on it with 3 seconds left. Ernesto Lacayo comes out for a field goal. He misses again, but we hit halftime 21-20 in favor of San Diego. That missed extra point looming large. Nice return for San Diego to start the second half around midfield. Another slipped pass, so another ball slips out of Nate Davis's hands. He corrals yet another one of his own fumbles. My stream froze on 3rd down for San Diego. I guess they scored a touchdown on the drive. I already ranted about it in the previous video. Just can't have that stuff happen, especially if you're paying $12 a month to have these streams freeze. So whatever. Stream is back with Northern Arizona facing a fourth down. Apparently the touchdown was Edward Vander's fourth rushing touchdown, so hopefully it's in there. If you ever go back and rewatch it, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, Stream is back for Northern Arizona facing a fourth down with 7 minutes to play in the third quarter. Completed pass for a first is Kieran Page as he's playing wide receiver. Northern Arizona dealing with some injuries. Atkins scrambles inside the 5. We have a 3rd and goal now for the Wranglers, needing a touchdown, and they get it. Marlon Cook catches a bullet from Ramon Atkins' rocket arm. Strike Force drive across midfield as they look to increase their lead, but the clock runs out on the third quarter, 28-27. Again, that 1-point advantage. San Diego still leads it here. Third down, throw to the left side, and Nate Davis hits Jalen Sample for a touchdown. That is Nate Davis's first touchdown pass of the night. It took him into the fourth quarter to do so. Again, we've always known San Diego is that run-first team. Northern Arizona drive stalls until Ramon Atkins finds Marlon Cook for a first down, as the Wranglers are trying to tie it up here. A roughing the passer a few plays later helps out Northern Arizona as they move closer. Wranglers now have a 3rd and goal a couple plays later. Atkins can't find anyone open, so he does it himself. Scrambling to the right side, he dives in. Touchdown Wranglers, 35-34, Strike Force, 7 minutes to play. They aren't chasing the points yet, so they kick the extra point. They're just 1 point behind right now. Nate Davis throws into coverage and Traveris Farrell picks him off. Wranglers, they're now in the driver's seat here with a chance to take the lead, 2-point conversion, whatever the case could be. Atkins throws, ball is tipped and intercepted by Herman Smith. So what I just said is null and void. San Diego takes over once more. Nate Davis keeps the play alive, and we have a wide-open Cole Blackman going into Northern Arizona territory. After a loss of yards by Edward Vander, Davis hits Jalen Sample in stride for a score, 42-34 San Diego with 2 minutes left. Wranglers have a decent kick return. They get to midfield as we hit the 1-minute warning, and man, the refs just seem kind of flag happy. Both teams are just kind of undisciplined. It's the first game for both sides. New players, you get it, so we'll see how it goes. But Northern Arizona kind of shooting themselves in the foot here with some of the penalties that they are taking on. Even more penalties after an incompletion. Northern Arizona gets inside the 10, down by 8 with 18 seconds left. Nolan Susel inside the 5 with 12 seconds to go. 1st and goal from the 2. Atkins to Cook, and we are a 2-point conversion away from a tie. So Marlon Cook hauls in that touchdown. 42-40 is our score. Atkins hits Susel. They have it, but a flag will prevent the 2-point conversion. We retry the 2-point try. The pass is intercepted in the end zone. I believe it was Herman Smith again, but that stat doesn't count because it's an untimed down. However, Wranglers not out of it. You need Nestor Aguera to hit a deuce, and we are tied. But the kickoff goes through the end zone, and that's going to do it, barring anything weird. Nothing weird happens. Vander goes ahead. That's it. It gains the positive yardage. Strike Force win 42-40. I think I put Vander. It might have been Nate Davis, but I think they handed it off to Vander. Regardless, Strike Force win it 42-40. So that's where we have this. Let's go take a deep dive into some of the stats. Talk our bet. Talk some standings. Get out of here. All right, stats over the face here. As you see, 42-40 your final score, but I do want to give credit where it's due. So often do you see teams, when they get down by a point or two, they want to chase those points and go for 2 and go for the deuces. And I mean, even in the outdoor game when there's no deuces, you're trying to go for 2. And you know, the whole, if you're down by 14, do you go for the 2-point conversion and then you're chasing the point, the blah blah blah. Regardless, I do give credit where it's due to Northern Arizona. They didn't really chase the points throughout the entire game. They missed that extra point in the first quarter, and they didn't do anything until the very end of the game, where it's like, hey, now we need to make those points up. But they kept pressure on San Diego. They kept forcing San Diego's hand in a sense, and San Diego made mistakes, and Northern Arizona couldn't capitalize, or they could, and vice versa. You know, Northern Arizona was making mistakes as well. There are penalties on both sides. We'll talk about that in a second. But for the most part, a back and forth game in the sense of like no team really got too far ahead of the other, or if one got a touchdown in front, it was 1 point behind, the touchdown scoring right after. So kudos to Ron James and company for not chasing those points until at the very end. There's no need to do it. And sometimes, like I said, too often you kind of see that because like we need to tie it up. So good job where it mattered. Game leaders on the left side, Ramon Atkins, 15 of 29 for 174 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 picks. He's also your leading rusher for the Wranglers, 8 carries, 28 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. So 6 total touchdowns for the guy. He was responsible for all the touchdowns. Marlon Cook, 6 catches, 6 catches, 60 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So not half, but Ramon Atkins was finding Marlon Cook maybe pretty much the go-to guy for Northern Arizona for tonight. Nate Davis for San Diego, he is your leading passer, 18 of 25, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick, and minus the touchdowns and interceptions, those stats are pretty similar, man. All things considered, both quarterbacks played pretty well. Both teams were throwing it more than they were running it. You'll see those in the stats on the right. Edward Vander, 12 carries, 63 yards, and 4 touchdowns, and it's kind of like the New Mexico game where Vander had the one big rush, so you take that away, and it's kind of like 11 carries for maybe 30 yards, maybe 40 yards, whatever the case could be. So he did run the ball really well, but you do have to take that one carry, that one touchdown, and that huge rush in there. I mean, it's all part of it, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's like, okay, all in all, though, 12 carries, 4 touchdowns. Every third carry is a touchdown. What can you say, man? Jalen Sample, your leading receiver for San Diego, 10 catches. So 10 of those 18 were to him. 93 yards, 2 touchdowns. So, and again, these are from the Indoor Football League. So if those aren't accurate, blame the league, man. But if Sample does have 10 catches, kudos to him. That was one hell of a performance. I don't think he'll win. I'll spoil it here because I've already seen it, but he won't win Offensive Player of the Year. But a stat line like that, man, that should be good. All right, over to the right side for team stats, looking at first downs and the third and fourth down conversions. First downs, both teams were gaining first downs. Don't get me wrong. Fourth down, Northern Arizona actually converted pretty well. San Diego, not so much. And some of this could be marred a little bit by when the stream cut out, but I think I got it as good as I could get it from the play-by-play stuff on the Indoor Football League website. So 4 for 7, and those 3 that they missed, they still converted 2 of those on fourth down for the Wranglers. So all in all, 6 for 10, you'll take it. On the other hand, though, only 50% for the third and fourth down combined, 3 for 6 for San Diego. Leaves a little bit to be desired. Now, granted, some of those, you do have some, field goals and stuff like that too, but regardless, that's where we have it. San Diego did outgain them 245 to 206, and again, eerily similar passing situations, although again, more interceptions for Northern Arizona. You could even tack on a fourth one, like I mentioned earlier, but that was on the 2-point conversion, doesn't count. So either way, turnovers, kind of the name of the game. Penalties, talk about that one sec. Rushing, again, you take away kind of that big rush that Edward Vander had, and these are kind of similar. 14 carries for roughly the 30 or 40 yards if you take out that big rush compared to the 32. But I thought Northern Arizona would run it just a little bit more, and here they come out just kind of slinging it all around. So if that's how the offensive scheme is going to go for Northern Arizona, then that's kind of how we have it with 2 to 3 teams already in the West, because you think the Gunslingers, this is not their recap, but the Gunslingers have kind of been like that. San Diego's always been like that. If Northern Arizona's kind of joined that, we're going to be in for some shootouts in the Western Conference. So that's where we have it with that. Field goals, no attempted field goals from Northern Arizona. Lacayo missed 2, but again, one was right before the half, and I think one was on that 0 for 1 fourth down attempt, if I'm not mistaken. So, and then we have to talk about this, penalties. Lots and lots of penalties. We have 16 total penalties for 137 yards. Now, that's not to say that, some of this stuff they could have gotten away with. I think the refs were just calling a very tight game, and you kind of saw that. And I mentioned that in the notes and the recaps and stuff, that there was kind of ticky-tack for some of these. Some things where I thought, hey, that should have been a penalty, didn't get called. And for some things where I'm not sure, and they were just kind of throwing the flag out there. So that's up to the refs' discretion. Like I said, I'm not going to blame the refs. This is why Northern Arizona lost. No, it's just one of these games. You'll have plenty of them throughout the year where it's just like some of these teams look pretty undisciplined. When you compare this to what we had for penalties with New Mexico and Orlando, where there's 2 total penalties and no penalties for New Mexico, and here we have 16. what are we talking about? How is the game officiated from one reffing crew to another? So that's something that you kind of have to take into consideration depending on who your ref crew is going to be. We'll see. But that's a conspiracy theory for another day. Let's go take a look at our bet. Let's go talk some standings. We'll wrap up. We'll get out of here. Get out your brooms, baby, because we swept week 2. Okay, so instead of stats over the face, we have standings over the face. That sounded terrible. I don't know where the inflection came from that, but we move on. A couple of teams have played 2 games already up to this point. A couple of teams have played no games. And as we venture into week 3, everyone's going to eventually play a game. And a couple of these teams that have played 2, they're going to get their first bye week of the season. But taking a look at the East on the very top, Green Bay leads 2-0. And then we've got Orlando being 1-0. Other than that, we got 2 teams at 500. Jacksonville and Tulsa have yet to play a game, but that'll change in week 3. Iowa 0-1. Not really much to talk about as we are in the early stages of the season, but Fisher's holding that 3 seed over Quad City based on the head-to-head. And again, everything will get more murky as more games and more teams get involved because Jacksonville and Tulsa have to play in week 3, and we just kind of go from there. Taking a look at the western side of the bottom, again, not a lot of teams have played, but the teams in the west that have played, they all have losses. And that except San Diego. So San Diego stands alone right there at the top of the West being 1-0 and the other 3 being 0-1. So maybe it's going to be more of a dogfight than we thought it would be in the West. But yeah, what can you say? New Mexico loses to Orlando. Vegas loses to Green Bay in week 1. And Northern Arizona loses to San Diego, which is your interconference matchup, which I did screw this up on the standings page. The conference for Northern Arizona should read 0-1 because I have that for San Diego being 1-0. So I don't know why that didn't transfer over. But regardless, that's where we have it. So just put an 0-1 right there. I might do that post-edit. So what you're reading right here, just ignore it because I've already fixed it. Yeah, screw you. But that's where we have it. Just a quick little synopsis of where the standings lay. Like I said, you got a couple of teams that have played 2 games already that will get a bye week, and then you're going to have some teams play their second game. I believe, what is it? San Diego is going to play Arizona, so they play their second game. Vegas is playing their second game. Northern Arizona is playing their second game. So we're going to see a couple of teams get game number 2. Some teams get their first game under their belt, and that's how we just kind of have it. But early stages, easy to kind of figure out the standings as it goes right now. But as we venture forward, it will start to get a little grayer, a little more murkier. It'll be clear as mud. But let's wrap up. Let's get out of here. And that is it for week 2 recaps, the final recap of week 2 between Northern Arizona and San Diego. Not trying to hijack it when it comes to this, but that is it for week 2. We already venture on to week 3. I know I'm getting this out on a Friday morning and then Friday evening. We'll be doing the week 3 previews and stuff like that when we do the Saturday games and then eventually the Sunday games and things along those lines. So yeah, it sucks to be up against the wall like this, but that's my own stupidity. So no, what can you do? My own laziness and everything. Damn. The consequences of my actions rearing their ugly head one more time. But for the most part, this is where we have it. It was a very fun game between Northern Arizona and San Diego. Completely different than what I predicted, and I'm perfectly fine with it. Like I said, I like the entertaining games more than I like the blowouts. I think everyone can attest to that, right? No, I mean, unless it's your team doing the blowout, then I don't think that you don't want to be the team getting blown out, and you'd prefer close games, but you also don't want your heart ripped out if you are the team on the losing end of that. So regardless, it was a very fun game. Definitely a lot of mistakes were made, turnovers, penalties, stuff like that will need to get cleaned up in the next week as both Northern Arizona and San Diego both play. San Diego gets to venture to Arizona as they take on the Rattlers at their home opener, and Northern Arizona opens their home slate as they welcome the Jacksonville Sharks to Findlay Toyota Center in Prescott Valley. So for both those teams, we'll see if obviously one can rebound against a team that has yet to start their season, and we've got a little bit of a rematch from something that happened last year in the playoffs that anyway, but that's where we have it, guys. I'm gonna take off from there. I love and appreciate every single one of you. If you feel so inclined, you can like, comment, share, subscribe. If you don't, That's fine too. I appreciate you at least watching the videos, because if you made it this far, you've either somehow scrolled to this exact point within the video, which you got great timing, or if you got to this point, hopefully you've watched at least a minute or two, maybe 5, maybe 10, and I do appreciate it, because I mean, it takes a lot of time and effort and editing and stuff like that to get these videos out. So it does mean a lot if you guys have watched this in its full capacity. You know, kudos to you guys. You guys are the real rock stars when it comes to that. But taking off here, guys, I've rambled long enough. I will catch you guys in those week 3 previews as we just keep mowing down the weeks. We're already 2 weeks done. We have 18 weeks left of this season. It's going to be done before you know it. I'm sad. But yeah, taking off here, guys. Love you. Catch you in week 3. Till then, see ya.